How are y'all doing? Day one almost complete. So welcome. This is what sorcery is this? How software uses dark patterns to manipulate people. So this is everywhere, and if you weren't paranoid coming into this talk, probably going to be a little paranoid after you leave. And then go watch one of the security talks, and you get the even deeper level of paranoia after that. So I'm Rachel. I work at JetBrains. I do .NET stuff generally there, so you'll see me doing .NET and dark patterns and stuff like that. So one thing about dark patterns is a lot of people think, well, these things are just crappy software, it's just bad design. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it is. We've seen it. There's always that bad designer, the bad design out there. But sometimes it's not. Often it's not. Often it's deceptive design. The thing is, some of these dark patterns are so prevalent, they kind of don't even register anymore to a lot of people. You kind of get used to them, and you might have a way to work around them, and you don't even, you just get so used to them, you don't even think of them as a dark pattern or as something annoying like maybe it was in the beginning. So we'll take a look at a whole bunch of examples and ways to not do them. So yeah, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not out to get you, right? So if you're a developer, why would you care about this if you're not on a UX team? Well, A, you are still responsible for your software, right? It's not just the designers that work on software. It could be in websites, it could be in apps, anywhere where we have digital products, you can have dark patterns. And I'm also going to show you some physical world dark patterns that I know everybody has seen in here, and maybe you recognize them, maybe you haven't recognized them as a dark pattern. So we could build better products. We don't have to resort to this kind of stuff. We could do the right thing, but you can also protect yourself and your family from maybe getting ripped off or paying too much for a subscription or buying too many things off of the internet when you didn't really want to do it, all right? So first we'll look at what are the dark patterns anyway, right? Now that I'm talking about them for a few minutes, what are these things? So they're, in general, user interface design choices. So that could be online or offline. It could be in real life as well. And it benefits, not you, benefits the software maker, the website host, whoever it is, the company behind it, by coercing, steering, or deceiving you into making decisions that you probably wouldn't do if you actually had alternatives or if you had all the data that you need to make an informed choice. So often, a lot of this is about taking choice away from you, right? And I don't like that, taking my choices away. So dark patterns are effective, which is why they get used. If you sell widgets and you do a dark pattern, you're going to sell more widgets. The problem is they're effective until they're not. So you might sell more widgets, but then on the back end, you're going to end up with more customer service calls later with people who didn't appreciate that you kind of coerced them into buying this widget that they maybe didn't want, or you threw in an extra warranty that they didn't ask for, or a subscription. Oh, subscription services love to do this, right? So they can be effective seemingly at the front, but if you look at the long tail costs, the long tail costs can cost you up to a third more in the end. And I do have this at my GitHub, and everything in here is backed up by data, but you can also see links. So it's all available if you want it. Paul Bogue did a talk about specifically the costs of dark patterns. And he took a look at a few case studies of companies that tried this and then how much it cost them in customer service calls, having to take returns, doing all of that other stuff. Because they thought they wanted to grab that cash up front, and they did, and then they ended up paying for it down the line. So these end up being not great at the end on either side, right? So you've pissed off your customers and you've screwed yourself. Like, that's a lose-lose. We don't want that. We want a win-win for both sides. So they can cost you. I don't know how many times I've had to help somebody in my family cancel a subscription. You try to if you have Amazon Prime, you ever try to cancel it? It's on purpose. They make it hard. Or I love this one, right? Sign up online, like one click, and you're done. Try to cancel that. You have to call. They put you on hold, 20 different options, talk to a representative, and they make you stay on hold forever, and they kind of wear you down, right? So that whole process is manipulative, and it's a way to basically screw you out of your money, right? Wear you down, and then you'll just give up, right? That happens a lot. Hundreds of millions of dollars every year go to this kind of problem. In both, not just the money that people spend, but also the time people spend trying to get that service. Like, I want to cancel the damn thing already, and they can't. And we're spending a lot of time on this as well. So that's not good. So it could cost in many ways as the consumer and as the one making the software. Here's one example. 83% of Australians have lost money. It's about the same for America and Europe as well. So we've been manipulated by a business. And then one thing that is kind of hard to get back is that trust. If you lose the trust of your customers, that's really not good. Because what are they going to do? It's not going to be just them. Word of mouth marketing is the most powerful marketing. So if they go, I couldn't, cancel my subscription, this company screwed me over this way, people are more apt to go with that competitor. So we want to consider that. Now, you have seen them, even though this is asking, have you seen them? Right? We've tried to cancel that Prime subscription and got lost in the forest. If you've ever booked on EasyJet is the master of dark patterns, so much so they got hit with like a $13 million lawsuit by the UK government. Also, Booking.com, Expedia.com, travel, any travel site that is, I'm going to say, not the airline's website, but even then, right? But any kind of third-party booking, their dark patterns just out the wazoo. It's just dark patterns all the way down. So you have seen these everywhere, right? What else do we have here? Canceling Amazon Prime. People just give up. So millions of dollars of just giving up. So some of the tactics that they use. We're going to see a bunch of examples of using these tactics. And then some of the psychological patterns behind it. So we have trick questions and trick UI elements. I haven't seen the second one in a while, but sneaking stuff into the basket. Do you ever go somewhere and you order something online, and then, whoops, you got something else in the basket? So I order a TV, and they just threw the warranty in at an additional $19.99. Yeah, thanks? I didn't want it. Right? You assume I did, you just threw it in there. A lot of people don't even pay attention and go right past it. Something called privacy suckering. Probably got hit by this before. They get you to give up information, like maybe an email or some other piece of information to go and download. You want to see some information in a PDF that a creator has. So you go and you give them your email, and then, nope, they don't actually give you the thing, but you gave up your data. Also, every social media, right, takes away a lot of your data. Preventing price comparisons. Now, some of these things too, like preventing price comparison prevention, are sometimes outright illegal in certain areas. But being illegal doesn't actually stop everybody. As you see there, you'll see at the end there's a whole bunch of lawsuits in a whole lot of countries about this kind of stuff, because people are starting to get angry and yell at their government representatives, who are then pressured to do something about it. Misdirection, hidden costs, bait and switch, which isn't generally an all-out illegal thing, but that happens too, and a whole host of other psychological tricks. So these are some of the things that you'll see, and I'll show you some of the ways that these are framed and done to various degrees on different websites. So our examples. Here's the OG dark pattern. Clickbait, right? What was it? It was to get you to go click and go look at the thing, and then you get there and you're like, really? That was not what that said, right? And it's usually, something seemingly on fire or something rage bait, right? Rage baity. Social media is great at this, right? We see the algorithms tend to promote the most outrageous, most crazy things, where one person or one group says something terrible about another one, and then people see a headline like that, and oh, this seems nuts, click. And they got your clicks, they got your views. So, and possibly even sales from some of it. So yeah, clickbait is one of the original dark patterns, right? Here's another one. This one is actually legit enraging if you've ever seen this or a variant of it, where you go to a website and it says, press allow to verify you're not a robot, like it's a CAPTCHA, except what's it asking? Do you want to show notifications? Like, that's just straight up, it's straight up lying. It's being a dick. That is what that is. This person is a dick, whoever did this. Like, seriously. That's just, yeah, but it's a dark pattern. But what happens is people go, oh, yeah, I'm not a robot, allow, especially if you're not really paying attention. That's where it always gets you, if you're just not paying attention. And we know as users, we're kind of trained to just click and get rid of the little pop-ups. Right? We do this a lot. As developers, when you debug or you hit an error code, how many times does something pop up and you just click, get rid of it, and then you're like, wait, what error was that? I'm supposed to be debugging it. So same thing here. Here's another thing that they do. Hunger Games is a dark pattern. Hunger Games Online. I love this. Somebody figured it out. Do you want us to fight for this? They do. They don't. There's probably 100 of these things. They would never lie to us, would they? They would never decrease this by an order of magnitude to make me think it's scarce, right? Or here, all of these. That's amazing how it's only like 1 or 3 things, like other people have it. Oh, you know how it is? That's a human thing. Other people have the thing. I wanted the thing. They might get the thing. I better get over there and get it. Right? This is what they're trying to evoke emotions in us like this. Here's another one. Adobe does this. So I sign up. Okay, I want to cancel. No, it's going to cost you more to cancel than it would to just let it run out. Also, not cool, Adobe. Here's this site and some of the ways it presents data. First off, they start with the big pink banner to attract you to go get more stuff and 10% off. But then it's the payment stuff down here. You come down and you want to start paying. Gives you options. Right? All these options. I don't want any of those options. Right? I could pay the full balance, but wait, I just wanted to pay with my own card. I didn't want to open up a new account. right? So whenever you have something like this with a big, easy access, do it our way, and then a tiny whisper of more payment options, that's when they're usually trying to misdirect you with the misdirection tactic. So you'll see this a lot where it's loud and bold, or a little option down here that you might have to look 2 or 3 times, scan the page to get to. So that's some more stuff that they do. So it makes it easy to go and apply now than it does to see the other payment options. No way to say no. And this could be violating some laws about data if you don't let people say no to things. Or here's another one, like select all. That's kind of loud, but whoops, yeah, confirm selection is kind of off. Yeah. So then this way we can track you. We have your cookies. We know what you're doing. You're going to buy stuff. And then we'll promote more of our products to you with other dark patterns. So that's some more things that we might do. More pop-ups like this where you'll see kind of very monochromatic. These actually, it's hard to see with just a static graphic, but when you click them, they barely change, and you can't actually tell if you're selecting or not. You've seen those before probably too. You click the little toggle and you're like, is that on or is that off? I can't actually tell. And then stuff like these, like accept, okay, I think those were all on, right? They were. But then your reject all is up there. It's a lot quieter, right? And also an accept all quite close to it, because then you might click that. So trying to get us to do it, always with the cookies. They're always trying to get more cookies off of us, trying to get more data, trying to get more privacy, suckering, trying to see what we're up to and track us online. As if having our phones and social media and all of that doesn't already give enough data about us online, because it does. So here's some fun ones, for examples. These are, I forget exactly what they're called. Oh, the shaming UIs. So they're going to shame you. They're going to take a dig at your identity, right? Because people don't want to go against their identity. So, hey, do you want 15% off? No, thanks. I'm not into saving. Nobody wants to click that. Like, no, I do. I like to save money, actually, right? But so then you put your email in and they'll spam you like 1,000 spams every day, and it'll be annoying. Or, no thanks, I like full price. I don't want a discount. This one here, a gardening one. Nope, I know everything about gardening. That's where I'm like, I actually do. No, I'm good, but not everything. This is my favorite. I don't want to be healthier. So I've seen more than one person post online and they said, I've noticed this thing where a little pop-up pops up and they ask you to subscribe to something and put in an email, and then it has this little note underneath it. If you don't want to do it, it says something like this, like, I don't want to be healthier. And they used an example very similar to this. And they said, I feel very guilty. A friend of mine actually posted this. I feel very guilty because I want to be healthier, right? Nobody wants to click that, because clicking that, even though you know it's a UX, clicking that is almost like saying, no, I actually don't want to be healthier. It's like you're actually agreeing. Psychologically, the feeling is invoked, and that's what it's all about. These invoking a little feeling in you to get you to do the thing that they want. And that is shady, right? We don't want to do shady stuff, but this one's funny. Like, I don't want to be healthier. But you click it, it's like, no, I don't want to be healthier. No, I don't want to save money. And it actually shames millions of people into signing up for these. They are effective. And then that person gets all these spam emails, and then they're like, I hate this website that spams me for this stuff. So on the back end, on the long tail, it doesn't help them because somebody hates them now, right? This one, I think this might be a little bit more of bad design, Heathrow. I think they meant to be high tech, where you can pay online or by phone, and you have to call that, and you have until midnight. You're probably going to forget. Like, you just want to get home from the airport. So this one, I think, is more of a, I mean, it's possible, but I think it's more of a bad design in this case, which some of these can be bad design, but yeah, yay, Heathrow. LinkedIn. Lying LinkedIn. LinkedIn pulls some shenanigans sometimes. So, no, there was not over 100 applicants, Hunger Games edition, right? It was just the people who looked at the job. I mean, if you twist it so that they looked at the job, yes, that's an applicant. If you redefine applicant, but that's not an applicant. But also, like, for some people, I think they're going to go, oh, all those people, I don't have a chance, and they're not even going to bother. So, this could cause people to be like, it's a hot job, I'm going to apply, but others to do the opposite. So I don't think they thought this one through at all. So a dark pattern that turned dark on them. So those were some examples of dark patterns that we see online. There's some in the physical world. The first one, I'm sure you've experienced this. Anyone been in a casino? You've experienced this. It's called the Gruen transfer effect. Also, they're better at this now, Booking.com, but a lot of the travel websites do this. Basically, it's like walking into a casino and there's blingy stuff everywhere and music and all this stuff, and it's an overwhelming amount of sensory information coming in. And that's what this is. Shopping malls. You ever go to a giant shopping mall? You walk in and you're like, I don't even know where to go. I just wanted to pick up a pair of shoes or something. A lot of shopping malls are like this too. It's on purpose. They actually hire architects and psychologists to design the buildings to do this. So it's called the Gruen transfer effect. This is part of a thing called choice architecture. You also see it in the supermarket as well. So I'll get to that in a moment. So for the Gruen effect, your casinos, IKEA. You ever go into an IKEA? Basically, the moment you enter IKEA, they own you. You have to go through that path. You try to take a shortcut. You need a map to find your way around. And it's so huge. And then you get to the end and you're just so tired and hungry, and then you have to eat the Swedish meatballs. Horse meat or not, you're so hungry. You eat it, and then you're like, oh, well, I'm full now. Oh, yeah, I did want to get a thing. And then you go back out shopping. Everything about IKEA, from the little arrows that you walk on, to the way that the little rooms are all cozy and they look so great. And then you buy the stuff, you get it home, and it never looks like the showroom. Like, never. How do they do this, right? It's on purpose. So IKEA. Now, the funny thing is, if you go to IKEA's website, totally not dark patterns. Their physical store is a giant dark pattern, but their online store is actually not so bad. Like, go figure. Okay, old school dark patterns, I guess, right? Supermarkets, too, are a source of dark patterns. And obviously casinos, but also like the gaudy carpets, because drunk people are always spilling their stuff, but it's very disorienting. It's on purpose. Right? So anytime you go into an environment and you feel a little disoriented, stop, think, this might be architected. At the store, so I used to work at a really big snack company in the US, so they made these kind of snacks. And to get your bag of chips on a specific shelf and location, it's like Hunger Games. They got to pay money to get them in certain, especially at the end of the aisles or by the cash register. There's these certain hot spots where products are placed and how grocery stores are designed. And we've all been in a grocery store, right? So everything from the placement of stuff to the fact that you walk in first and it's always the fresh fruits and vegetables and baked bread first. Those nice smells and crisp lettuce, right? So you feel like fresh and yummy. And then stuff like the utter necessities like toilet paper are always in the back, where you have to walk past all of the chips and all of the other stuff. And you maybe have heard things like shop the perimeter, where you just go on the outside and stay with the fresh food instead of going to the processed food sections. It's a little bit of a help to work around the dark pattern. But also the labels. You ever take a good look at these labels? By law, in many countries, they have to put the actual price instead of making it hard for you. Well, they still make it hard for you to compare prices, but they have to put the actual price like per 100 gram or per a certain quantity. But usually you'll see like a big price, which is maybe the price of the product, but then you'll see those little prices, and the little prices are actually what you would pay if you're going to compare it to similar items of the same size and quality. But they don't want you to see that, because if they did, you would see maybe theirs is not as cheap as the other one, or et cetera, et cetera. So even the pricing on the stickers are a dark pattern. And they've been doing this for decades, like even before the internet. So that's how long of a dark pattern this has been. They figured this out a long, long time ago. A lot of restaurants and grocery stores will pump nice scents into the air so it smells good and you're maybe hungrier. Also, like you notice, well, in the US, this is more common, the shopping carts keep getting bigger and bigger, right? Especially in the US. And of course, you probably already knew this one, impulse items near the cashiers. And if you look at where kids' cereal is, the sugary stuff for the kids or things for kids, they're conveniently just a little lower. And stuff for adults at adult eye level. And they make it so that when people take their kids into the store the whole time, the kid's like, Mommy, Daddy, can I have this? Can I have this? Can I have this? Right? We probably have experienced that at some point if you have kids. With the kids, it's right at their eye level. How convenient, right? It's on purpose. So why does this happen? All these examples, online and off. It's all about psychology and people wanting to make a buck, all right? That's their end game. So the psychology behind it. This was just a leftover slide from Amazon slipping stuff into your cart. Right? They pop this up and make it a little bit more easier for you to do that. It's part of choice architecture. So why do they do this? It's heuristics. So humans walk around every day, and your brain's always going, and you make these conscious decisions to do things like, I think I'm going to have dinner. I think I'm going to read a book, et cetera, et cetera. But in between those decisions that you purposefully make, there are thousands of tiny unconscious or semi-conscious decisions. Like taking a drink or, sometimes that's on purpose, but a lot of times you just do it. You're thirsty. You're not even really thinking. And it's because of this that we run as humans on autopilot for the majority of our day, for like 90%. And I do have some studies in the notes, the slide notes about this. So heuristics are those mental shortcuts that let us go about our day without being overwhelmed with just stupid stuff that we shouldn't have to think about, right? But people can hack into these. They're patterns, right? So sometimes they're anti-patterns. So just like software has patterns, people have patterns. Patterns and ways that we do it. So do animals. We're all about patterns. So you can hijack those heuristics and hijack them on people. And that's what a lot of this is. Think about the rage bait in social media. It's hijacking your, oh, I'm so angry about this. Click or share, right? So that's what we're up to. That's what they're doing. Robert Cialdini, who is a well-known psychologist who wrote a book on influence and persuasion, calls this the click-whir effect. And he says people are like these little cars, where you go, toy cars, and you go click, click, whir, and off they go. And if you hijack people's heuristics and people patterns, you can then go click, whir, and get them to do things they might not otherwise do. So pundits, con people do this. Think about this. In any given city, where do you think the most pickpocketing happens? Like, you might think a train station, a mall, a crowded square. None of those places matter. The places where the most pickpocketing happens is under the sign that says, watch out for pickpockets. You know why? Someone's walking along, and they're in a park or wherever, and they see the sign, oh, watch out for pickpockets. Yeah, I got my wallet, I got my phone. And they point it out by subconsciously just tapping. Pickpockets hang around and they go, yep, now I know where Jim over there has got his stuff, or Jill, or whatever. So, yeah, you see the sign? Don't touch things. Just do this. Do something else. Don't go touching your pockets. Don't let them know where. Or, you know, a woman with a purse might do this. Oh, I see who's got the more valuable stuff in their purse by how tight they're clutching it. So con people, bad people, use this click-whir effect all the time. We see it on social media, also in software. Yeah, a lot of this goes on, but that's what they try to do, right? Try to just get people to impulsively do a thing that they might not otherwise do, right? Put in your email, no, I don't want to be healthy. Yeah, it's an impulse to be like, no, I want to be healthy. Here's the book he wrote on this, and there's 7 principles of persuasion. Social proof, which is, peer pressure, basically. What are other people doing? Reciprocity, authority, liking, commitment, scarcity, and unity. So we're at a conference, and you've gotten some swag, maybe from the vendors. Got little goodies and stuff. Do you even know why this exists? Another OG dark pattern comes from the 1800s even. Somebody did some investigations way back before the internet about gift giving. It's the principle of reciprocity. If you give someone something, a gift, piece of swag, no matter how not so valuable it is, like a pen, not terribly valuable, or stickers or whatever, it invokes the reciprocity principle. It also invokes a bit of liking. They tend to like you more and feel more indebted to you. And that's how swag got started. And then over the decades, people just kept doing it because other people were doing it, and others noticed that it worked for those other people. And that's how a lot of this keeps perpetuating. Folks noticed, hey, this works for this other company, let's do it too. And now swag is just everywhere. But it still does have this effect. You get that piece of swag, and it's got the brand on it, and the little, thing sits on your desk and you see that vendor's name every day, and it's a cool little fidget spinner and I like it, and when it comes time to pick something, you might not even realize subconsciously your brain's going, yeah, I like them better for some reason, right? Because they're always showing up, because you always see that logo and you feel a little bit better about them. Of course, authority, that one's kind of an easy one, right? If you see something as an authority, you're more likely to listen to it. Scarcity, those examples, there's only 3 left in the cart and 100 people want it, go fight, that kind of thing. And unity, hey, I got my tribe and they're all doing the thing, they all like the thing, I like it too. Why? I don't know, they do it. All right, so I want to be unique. Also commitment, consistency. People like to be consistent. So if you ever see software like kind of trying to call you out and tell you you're not consistent, maybe there's a reason. And it might not be that you're being inconsistent. And all of this plays into biases. Now, when we say the word bias, people think, oh no, politics, left, right. No. What we're talking about is those heuristics that get hijacked, those cognitive biases of just how your brain operates when presented with these choices. And one such bias is how things are framed and how you look at stuff. If you're a pessimist, optimist, or possibly the realist. So how things are framed makes a difference as to how people perceive them based off of, this is my favorite slide, based off of the type of person they are. So there's a lot of ways to frame software and UXs. Although I'm talking about the dark patterns, you can use a lot of this, especially framing, for good. You could frame good things. And you can also even use a lot of this within your team on the software development process for good, to make good and better products. So, framing, obviously, if I'm making, I'm at JetBrains, we make things like Rider, it's definitely half full. It's not the piss, okay? Not the piss. Or like this, oh no, what, the lioness is eating the cub. Oh, mom, all right, we're good, right? So how's it framed, right? When you see it like this, and then you turn it around, oh, okay, not so bad. Right? Or this, you may have seen this going around the interwebs. Read it, yeah. Well, it's important, right? What is the most important thing? If you have a website with a product, what is the most important thing? Maybe that should be here, right? Framing for positive. And then the non-important stuff. Now, you can also dark pattern it and put, the crappy stuff that you want people to do that they don't want to do in the big frame, and have the smaller ones as, that we saw before in the examples. You could do that. But that's the dark pattern way. Or this, you've seen things framed in these ways. Like, you ever go to the store and see 15% fatty beef? Like, no, because who would buy that? It just sounds weird at this point. Or this, if the doctor just comes up and goes, 10% chance you're going to die. Like, no, I'm going to a different doctor, even though it's the same. It's the same as 90%. $120 off. Or 20%. Wow, $120 actually sounds like more, even if it's not, right? It does, like unless you stop and think, wait, that's the same. This is another good one. We're the 5th best team. Or we're the worst team. I'm 5th best, definitely. And then you'd see salespeople go like, how can I help you? So you can't like run away and escape. If they go, can I help you? You could say, no, we're good. How can I help you? Oh, now I need to think up an actual answer. How? I don't know. Whatever. One of these biases is the anchor effect. Bought a car recently or ever? That sticker is the anchor. Applying for a job. You might want to consider putting out the pay you want before the employer offers. Use the anchor effect to get a better salary for yourself. Search results and reviews. Amazon does this too. They'll anchor something. Also the primacy effect, which is be the first. The first thing in a list gets the most views, the most purchases, the most of the things. So anchoring is just relying very heavily on that first piece of information. And it's just a thing we do. And then we just kind of like stick with it, like a dog with a bone, even when we're given other information. And you may see this with somebody who grabs onto a fact, and it's wrong, it's an incorrect fact. And then they see more data, but they don't want to let go of that fact. Right? That happens sometimes. Another bias that happens is that people conflate time with space and distance. And here's an example. West's Furniture in the US ran some A/B testing, and they did something like this. They ran a little block with a picture of an item, like a lamp, sofa, etc. And then they had a little bit of text. And they did some of them with the item in the left of the block, text on the right. And then the other side, the B test, A/B, the lamp toward the right and the text toward the left. Yeah. And when they ran the tests, they found out that even though it was the same item that they would A/B test with, when they asked people to describe the items, the people who saw, and this would be in people who read from left to right, as your native language or your first script, the people who had on the left, it was seen as older, as antique. But the ones who saw it on the right described it as modern and newer. Because our bias is to conflate time with space and distance, right? So being that we space these out differently. So think of this when you have to position things in a UX, right? How are people going to see these, right? If it is a modern lamp, maybe actually put it over on the right side. Do something like that to make sure you get that point across. But that's one bias that people could take advantage of, and you can actually design better when you know this, because you can appropriately get things on the screen. There's the mere exposure effect, another bias. We know this one. You lie enough times, people start to believe it, right? Also, Amazon uses this, and it's not necessarily a lie per se, but you ever notice they'll show a product, some other products, that same product shows up again, and it shows up again until you're kind of like, yeah, this one looks pretty good. It seems familiar. It's on purpose, that's why. So show your product enough times, people will be more apt to buy that one that keeps popping up in the list. So those sponsored items, if you're just someone who sells stuff on Amazon, sponsor it, because then it'll keep getting showed up. And then people will see it more and it'll be more familiar. If you ask me though, buy it, build a better product, but it is kind of hard if you're, say, on Amazon to compete with these tactics, which is another problem of dark patterns. The first in the list, Google knows this. Anybody go to the page 2 of Google in 10 years? No, wait, there's still a page 2? I don't even know. Nobody goes there. Be the first in the list. Everybody, the first couple things, that's what they do. Google, Amazon, all kind of things. So if you're displaying stuff on screen, put the most important stuff up there first, right? If you are making your resume, most important stuff up at the top. Get those important skills up there first, right? Another size bias. The size of fonts affect how you think of prices. So another kind of A/B testing would say a wine, and I have this little block, this wine, and it's $29.99, right? And then I have another one, and this one. And if we run an A/B test, you look at these prices, it's the same price, but this one's printed in a smaller font. If you run an A/B test, people will describe that as the cheaper one because the font was smaller, right? Because your brain, it's hijacking the heuristic. Nobody stops to go, wait, is somebody trying to hijack my heuristic? You're going to do this now, right? But nobody does that. And when prices are manipulated like this, it makes so if you're in a list with other products and your font was smaller, people might think yours is cheaper, even if it's the same product. And it's not that they literally think it's cheaper. It's just the subconscious going like, that one seems better for some reason, right? You can't really articulate your subconscious. That's why it is subconscious. Another one. You might have noticed this. When you have the, was a price, now is a new price. The spacing between it. So people conflate this as well. So the B over there, that test, people think like, oh, that's a better deal, more off, when A/B testing is done on these exact same products, right, than something that has the price cheaper to it. So if you are ever listing a discount, put it far away, like not so far that it's ridiculous, but give it a little space there, and it'll seem a little bit more discounted. Right, so it makes it feel. It's all about feeling, not thinking. And that's the thing about the dark pattern. They want you to not think. They want you to feel and click whir and react. Here's a good one. This was not a dark pattern. This is just a hilarious example of these biases getting hijacked in all the wrong ways. There's this chain of burgers called A&W in the US. And in the 80s, they ran an ad called Third is the Word. And they wanted to compete with McDonald's and the Quarter Pounder, right? So, yay, freedom units. So they wanted to compete with that. And they said, well, what we're going to do is bring out a third pounder to compete with the Quarter Pounder, and we'll release it at the same price. And what did America do? And I will disclaim this by saying I was born and raised in Pennsylvania, okay? What did Americans do? You're not fooling me with that. Everyone knows 1/4 is bigger than 1/3. So when they polled it, people just saw the 4 and went, I see what you're doing. So that was a little marketing. And this is, you go look at this online, it's hilarious. A&W has documented it. And they're like, yeah, it's one of like an epic marketing failure. Like there's no way they saw this coming, right? Looking back, it seems obvious. But yeah, so like Quarter Pounder, you're not fooling me with that third pounder because I can't do math. So, yeah. Texture bias. Yeah, drink? Have a little drink? Yes, perfect timing. All right, so I have 1 or 2 people in my family I use this with. I will get them a glass, and it will not be in this shape. Because the shape of your glass, the shape of plates, you ever go to a fancy restaurant and you're like, oh, the shape of the plate? Yeah, because it actually does make the food look better. And as part of the overall experience, it then tastes better, right? Also, shape of your glass influences how you might consume it. So if you're really watching how much you consume, just get a straight glass, right? That's the easiest, just straight. Like the little glasses they have out there for the, for the soft drinks. But yeah, the curvy glasses, it's a little bit harder to tell how much it is. And this isn't even a bias or heuristic. Sometimes it is literally hard to tell how much exactly is in a glass, number one. So that makes it a little bit easier there. But yeah, the shape of the glass. But also, if you're drinking wine, I mean, you drink it in a wine glass. I mean, that actually adds to the experience as opposed to like a little, red Solo cup or something like that. But that is something to consider, is the shape of the things that you consume your food with, food and drink, does. Did the mic go out? No, we're good. It does influence how much you might consume. So, and yeah, if you have that, problem person at Thanksgiving, consider the type of glass you put out at their place. Might help a little bit. Here's another good one. At least in the US, for some time, a lot of companies would have a little snack box, and it was like honor system. It would be, $1 or 50 cents or whatever, and you just put your money there and take a snack. And what happened, this was common in offices, right, in the US. And what would happen is people didn't intend on getting a snack. Maybe they were going to the toilet or to a meeting, and they would see the snacks and go like, oh, yeah, I could use a snack. I'll grab one, go back to my desk, get the 50 cents, and put it in later. And then, of course, you're at work, you're going to forget, right? So people weren't necessarily doing this on purpose. I'm not saying they were stealing on purpose. I'm sure one or two people are like, I got a free snack on my employer. But generally, people, instead of having a vending machine, small companies might have this. And a university had these and then decided to run some experiments on how people behave and how to get people to honor the honor system. Because mostly it is people just going I'll get this later and forgetting. Right? So how do you get people to not do that? Really simply, you hijack their heuristic, make them think they're being watched. Not really, but if you take a magazine or even just a picture of eyes, slightly creepy if you see this in the break room, honestly, but you can just take a magazine with someone's face, the whole face. Those eyes are in there, right? They're watching you. You better remember. And then people would go back, get the money, and come back and go, okay, I want the snack. And it changed it from 80% of the people going, yeah, I'll get it later, and forgetting, to 80% of the people actually putting the money in first. So that's the kind of difference weird-ass stuff like this can make. That one is kind of bizarre but hilarious, right? But we have a lot of things going on in here. We have framing. We just have that unconscious heuristic running in the background with people. So all of that good stuff. So now that we've seen a lot of these things, what can we do as developers? What are ethical alternatives for us? How can we maybe help our software be a little better and not employ these dark patterns and make the quality better for everybody? So first off is go out and start looking at some of the laws or talk to the attorney at your company. I'm not saying try to be a lawyer, but just so you know, I just have a few of them here. I just can't possibly fit on a slide now how many lawsuits and other legal problems folks are running into with these things. EasyJet got nabbed. At the top, $2.5 billion is the most recent one for Amazon. That's a lot. I do not want to cost my company that kind of money. Yeah. Although I think not a lot of companies other than Amazon and maybe Microsoft have that kind of money, but still. So that's something. Germany, UK, Australia, even the US has regulations and are a lot more lawsuits. So when we're building our software and testing, we might want to consider this is a possibility, right? You can get sued for some of these. So not so much to say play lawyer, but just talk to your legal team. I know, nobody wants to do that. I mean, it's the legal team. But you kind of have to. So we do this. We run all of our stuff by them. Really consider the customer. How would you feel if you're doing the thing? If you can, get mom, dad, grandma, the kids, somebody who doesn't use the software to look at it and just go, how do you feel about this? Be like armchair psychiatrist for a moment and be like, how does this make you feel? And if they go, this is a little weird, or I feel pressured, or if you feel that yourself, maybe take a look. Look a little deeper, think about it. Dog food your product, which we should be doing for many, many, many reasons, even outside of dark patterns, right? So we all do this at JetBrains too. And I know when you work with marketing too, it's a little harder because they want to market all the things. So there's a lot of times where we're cracking the knuckles of marketing going, no, you're not doing that. Could this damage my reputation? That's a good one to ask for everything that we do. And yeah, if you end up in a talk like this, maybe, oops, a little bit late. You've been doing it wrong. If you can have actual roles or teams that do this, we can't always, especially if you're in a startup or a smaller place. But somebody could at least take some time to do some of the A/B testing, to do some UX or QA testing. You could fit a lot of this into your QA processes, in your design processes, looking for these kind of patterns and seeing how it might affect you. And of course, like focus groups, if you could do that, that also helps a little bit. And ask them questions like, how do you feel? Because it's all about the feeling and the click whir and getting an action without thinking, right? Because it's all about getting people to not think. There's even a book out there called Don't Make Me Think, about how to design things, because when you do make people think, let's face it, nobody wants to. We would rather autopilot all the things and have a very easy life, right? That's just how biologic organisms are. But where you might have to go and do some QA testing to get people to stop and think a little bit about these patterns. I got a bunch of resources in the slides, and that's all on GitHub as well. But if you go to deceptive.design, they have a Hall of Shame. That's good scrolling through there. Also a bit hilarious, some of it. Yeah. And then also the psychological principles behind a lot of these and specific case studies. All great material for software and outside of software as well. And then more resources like the Bogue talk on the money behind it, how it can actually cost you, or I love the just call them an asshole design, right? Dark patterns. So there's a few more resources here as well. So hopefully we could go out and be a little more paranoid, but not get taken in by a dark pattern, and make our quality of our products better by not adding them in. Thank you.